record it. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So basically what I'm going to go over today is just going to be W-2 income. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. It's going to be just reviewing the, what to look for when looking at a W-2 document. And again, like my way of teaching is very like 101, just because I want to make sure that everyone understands. I know some of you guys are at a different level, so you guys know, what I'll be talking about, but it's always good to get a little refresher, and then we can go over any questions. So basically, when you're looking at a W-2 income, the first thing that you guys got to do is just make sure you verify, the information on the W-2 income. Basically, can you guys hear any background noise or no? Are you guys okay? You're good?
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if my brother's being too loud because he's in the other room, so I just wanted to confirm. But anyways, when you guys are looking at a W-2 income, if you notice right here, on this, basically, I crossed off a bunch of information just because it's going to go on YouTube. So I didn't want to, show any personal information. But the one thing that we always want to make sure when you're looking at different W-2s is making sure that you have the correct employer's information. Why is this important? It's important because that way you know if the borrower had a previous job, because sometimes they'll say, oh, I've been here for 2 years, but actually they've been there for 1 year and 7 months, and when you review the W-2 and you have 2 different W-2s, you have one for Amazon and one for Target, then that's when the right questions will come up. Like, well, why do you have an Amazon W-2 if you've been working for Target for 2 years? Oh, well, actually, maybe it was 3 months, or, whatever the case may be. So always verify the employer's information. Another reason why, it's because some companies have DBAs. So they might say, hey, I work for Dr. Fausto. But when you look at the W-2, it shows, B&L LLC or whatever the case may be. So that way you answer all the questions beforehand. So when you send your opening email to processing, where you put all the info for the processor, you can put there under employer, hey, DBA, or sometimes I put it on the same 1003, how it has a different line. I put DBA, let's say Amazon, DBA, Target, an example, so that way the underwriter and the processor knows, and they're not going to be questioning it and then wasting a day trying to figure out, you know what I mean? Another thing to look at is always verify the social security number for the borrower. This is good for me when I verify it, just because sometimes when I'm taking an application, I might be typing it too fast. I might be, transversing a number. So when I look at the W-2 and I see the social security numbers, there's times where I've caught myself, oh, wait, why is there this number here? And then I go on the 1003. And yeah, they're not matching. Maybe I put 36 instead of 63, So it's another way of verifying the info that you have. Another thing is checking the address, the borrower's address on the W-2. This is very important when you're trying to, when you're trying to show that the client does live in that property, especially if the borrower has multiple properties. That's where the processor will go. And the underwriter will go to see, why is there a different address on there? Do you know what I mean? Or why are they using the other address? So are you trying to refinance them and say that they live there, but they actually don't live there? So those are questions that you may want to ask before they assume things, you know what I mean? Because they could be, hey, I live in this house, but I still have all my mail going over to my parents' home, or whatever the case, whatever their situation is. Or I live in an apartment and I want all of my mail to go to my parents' home or my sister's home. So it's always good for you to see that. So again, You want to verify borrower's information, the name, address, also line 5. That's what we're going to go off. I know there's different amounts. Sometimes you'll see different amounts right here. It's all matching, but sometimes the number 1 will be a little bit different than number 5. So the way what we look at when we're calculating the income is always number 5. That's going to be your gross income. And again, we're going to verify employer information. We're going to verify just the employer company name. That's it. The address, you know, I mean, you're supposed, when you're doing your 1003, make sure you ask for the address that they use where they go and check in and, you know, clock in and clock out. That's the address that we want to put on the 1003, which most of the time it's going to be different than your W-2. Okay. Any questions in regards to this?
No.
Okay. And then we're gonna go to the other page, which is a pay stub. So when you have a client with a W-2, it's because they're getting paid with a pay stub. Okay. What are we gonna look at when we're looking at a pay stub? Again, same thing. We want to make sure we look at the pay period. We want to make sure we look at the pay date. Why? Because when we're asking for a 1 month pay stub, we want to go off this, you know, the pay date. When is, you know, they get paid on 3/15, we go 2 weeks forward, or I mean 2 weeks back, and we ask for the other pay stub. So this is going to help you determine which pay stub you're missing. Now, why do we need this? We need this in order to calculate how many months or weeks we're going to take into account for their year-to-date income. Do you understand that? Okay. Do you guys know how to calculate, like if you're looking at this pay stub, do you know how to calculate your year to date based on this pay stub?
I need to get the last pay stub of the borrower, and I put it in into the income calculations form you gave us, no?
Correct. So when you're doing your income calculation worksheet, it's going to ask you for number of months. So, you know, when you're looking at the
Yes.
pay stub and it's asking you for number of months, we want to look at, okay, so it's March 15th. That's the last end of the pay period. So we go March 15th. So March has 30 days. We can't do it, you know, we can't do 12,566 divided by 3. Because it's not a full 3 months, correct? So it's been only
Yes.
2 months and a half, we could say, right? But you would calculate, okay, we have 15 days. That's the last end of the pay period. Now, how many days does the month of March have? 30. So we'll divide, you know, 30 divided by 15. And then, you know, you do 12,000 divided by 2.5. So that's going to help you see if the borrower, their year to date is aligned with what income we're using. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Because another thing, you know, and the reason why we do this, it's very important because when you have a client, okay, and the client is making, let's say you put that they're making $5,000 a month, but when you look at the year to date, and you calculate the year to date, it only comes up to them making $3,000 a month, okay? Then other questions are gonna come up. One of the questions is gonna be, hey, why is it that your year to date is less? Oh, because that's how you can also find out if maybe they just started working at this new company. They don't have a full month. Maybe they just been there for a month. Or they were on some type of family leave, or they took vacation. So that's when those questions are gonna come up. And that's when you wanna get all that, you know, squared away. So again, when the file goes to processing, they're not gonna waste, you know, another day trying to figure out, you know, the missing pieces, because you already know them ahead of time. Do you know what I mean? So we're gonna go ahead and when you're looking at a pay stub, you're gonna review for the borrower's name, pay period, pay date, and you're also gonna glance through the deductions. Why is this important? It's important because that's where you're gonna see if there's any child support, meaning any wages are being garnished by the child support department, by the state, or if they have a 401k loan or any type of employer loan. And again, we have to take that into account when it comes to liabilities. So it's always important to glance through your, your deductions, which is right here, because it's gonna tell you, sometimes I know when we're reviewing them, we might go too fast, but guess what? When it gets to, if your processor is not doing their due diligence, then when it gets to the underwriter, you're gonna find out, hey, why is there like an example, like a California withholding of $50 on every paycheck? Well, that's $100 a month. Why is the child support garnishing $350 every paycheck? That's $700 a month, and that could potentially kill your loan. Because sometimes, as you know, there's times where we don't have that what's it called, like our ratios are not like too broad, like they're always like kind of tight. So do you have any questions on the pay stub? No, we're good. Okay, now we're gonna go just going over what I went over with you guys, just a few, determining number of months for calculating income. So I put it on here so that way you guys have an idea as well. And again, what kind of questions you want to ask if your year to date does not match with the amount of income that you wanna use. Okay. Now let's see. So then I also added here, it's important to always collect the following in order to determine the income. We're gonna collect 2 years W-2s and 1 year of the most recent pay stubs. That's the income that you're gonna be using, base income. Now, if you wanna start using other types of income, like overtime, bonus, commissions, or other type of income, then the way I always try to do it is either I do a verification of employment, because I want to make sure that I do see all of the income before I give it to the clients. I don't assume. It's much easier to get the last pay stub received from the employer for the previous 2 years, just because on there, you're going to see everything broken down. Okay. And honestly, guys, it's amazing how much extra income you might be able to get by getting the 2 months, those pay stubs, because there's times where I'm like really, struggling to get a little bit of income. I can give you a situation. I had, I was short like maybe $100, and thank God this client was receiving cell phone reimbursement. And because I was able to show it that he has been receiving it for 2 years, I was able to, get it. And it was like $154 a month. So that saved me, so it's just crazy, like, all the extra incomes that people get. And again, as long as we're able to verify it, that they've been receiving it for 2 years and they're still receiving it up to date, we're able to use all kinds of income. And then again, make sure you also follow your guidelines to confirm how long of a history you need. As FHA requires 2 years of history, with conventional, you can get away with 1 year, as long as your verification of employment shows that you are most likely to receive that type of income. Do you have any questions on this? We're good?
No.
And again, I went ahead and I added a website that's extremely helpful if you guys want to start, doing some extra learning on income and stuff. It teaches you how to fill out your income calculation worksheets. They do provide other trainings on income, and other items as well, which, we're going to be going over, but I think it's a great place for you guys to start, as you guys are not that busy processing files and stuff. Then, take 30 minutes every day and try to sign up for one of these classes. they go over how to review a title report, how to review an appraisal, how to, review income for self-employed people, how to do non-QM loans. So they do have a bunch of trainings. Let me go on there really quick. So I don't know if I can share this too. I don't know. Can you see my screen, or what do you guys see? No, you guys only see the other stuff, huh? Hmm. So this is what the website looks like. Um, just to give you an idea. Those are the kind of trainings that they offer. So there's a lot of trainings that you guys could do, which is, always helpful. And again, you can always go on YouTube and, or I like to go directly to the source because there's always videos. So if I have a question on down payment assistance and stuff like that, I go directly to, the source the type of loan that I want to do. If it's a Cali Chafe, I go directly to Cali Chafe. So I like to do that instead of sometimes going to YouTube, because you get other information or you get videos from other states, and I don't know if maybe their regulations are a little bit different than California. But do you have any questions on any of this stuff that we went over? No? And then also, go ahead.
No, I say I don't think so for now. Thank you.
And then have you guys opened up our income calculation worksheet?
Yes, I have you be using with 3 clients, and
Yes.
I am very familiar with that. Thank you so much. I think it's very helpful because you introduce the information, and the system, that form gives you an idea which income you are going to use.
Correct. It's always good because that way it just helps you, with let's see. How about you, Norma, Cindy, and Musab? Have you guys used that?
No, I don't have yours or the one that you guys are using. I'm using the one that that they provide. That's what I'm using. Theirs.
Who's they?
The MG, what is the name of
Okay,
the website?
Magic.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So this is the one I use. This is the one, you will find it on the Pacific Lending. This is the one I use. And, I always take advantage of writing too on if I'm being a little bit aggressive with my income, I always put it on here under comments. Being aggressive means like an example. I have a client who's been working part-time and recently started working full-time, right? And I want to use their current full-time income, then I would put it on here. Year to date does not match because client was working part-time, but now has, started working full-time. I have pay stubs showing 40 hours per week, and on the verification of employment, it shows that the client is working full-time. So that way the underwriter will see that and they'll know ahead of time the reason why your income is higher. Or like, during COVID and we wanted to use overtime and the overtime was a little bit lower, let's just say in 2020, because it was, the restaurant was closed, but 2021, it started picking up. In 2022, it was higher. So, I would use that. I would not take into account 2020 overtime because my average would be lower, and I would put it on there. Year to date is it's going up. It's, you know, in accordance to what 2022 is. 2021, the restaurant was closed. We're using the higher income. And again, as long as it makes sense, the underwriters are going to be pretty open about it. Okay, any questions on this?
So
We're good.
Melly, so if the previous year, the client did less income, if you average, you're gonna end up with less income. How do you do? You do it by days. You put you exclude the days that the client wasn't working.
Yeah, like let's just say, you know, maybe they took a family leave. Like I had a client where she was off work for 3 months. She was off work for 3 months for the year of 2022. And so so what we did is we got rid of those 3 months. When I calculated the overtime, instead of doing it for over 24 months, we did it 21 months. You know, sometimes we'll do, you know, like if it was only 6, you know, same thing, like if they started working half of the year at this other place, we can't average it for 12 months, you know, we got to average it for the amount of time that, you know, they were working there. So as long as we have documentation that they were on family leave or some type of leave and they were not working, so their, you know, year-to-date income is going to be lower, and also bonus is going to be lower, commission is going to be lower, overtime is going to be lower. So yes, we can go ahead and average it and, you know, get rid of those 3 months. But again, that's going to be something that you got to be ready to fight, because a lot of underwriters might just say, no, no, no. They might calculate it over 24 months, but then it's going to be up to you to go back and, you
And
know,
show
get the proper
why and prove
documentation.
letters, yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I had one of those where we had to go back and we literally, when we asked for the verification of employment, I've gone to the point of also getting employer ledgers showing how many hours a client has been working, or, you know, ever since they came back to work. And it helps, you know, it honestly helps. Like we closed another transaction with a client where we literally had to go back to his previous employer and get a summary ledger, employment ledger, just to verify that the income was there. So again, if you get a good feeling and you know that the client's income is there, you know, find out what do you need to do in order to show it.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And again, you know, there's other rules that, you know, apply to every client. As you already know, if you're working with someone that works off commission, if their commission is declining, you know, again, FHA has different rules, conventional has different rules, Fannie Mae, they have different rules. So those are things that you guys need to look over your guidelines to see, because I know with Fannie Mae, if the commission drops 25% or more, you can't use it, you know? So those are things to also take into account when you're calculating income, how much it dropped, you know, because then they don't see it as stable income. And then same thing, you know, if you have a client, and this is W-2 incomes, you have a client who works for a hospital and he's been there at the hospital for 5 years, right? And then he got another job at another hospital, which is very common. When they work for hospitals, when they work at a dentist office, they sometimes have 2 jobs because they work, you know, 20 hours here and 30 hours there, or whatever the case may be. Just so you guys know, if it's in the same line of work, as long as they have been working if they have been working at the second job for over a year, you might be able to use that second income. That's just, you know, for you guys to have that in mind. So if you have a client, you know, and you need that income, as long as they have been working, if it's in the same field of work, whether it's medical field or hotel industry or restaurant industry, if they have been doing it for over a year and we're able to get a verification of employment saying that they're more likely to continue, working there, you will be able to use both of the employer's income. Any questions on this? Another thing to always keep in mind as well when you're looking at the W-2s, and I bring this up because it's come up before. Sometimes we look at the W-2 and there's a lot of self-employment people, employers we could say, that they pay themselves with a W-2, right? So if they own the company and they pay themselves with a W-2 and a pay stub, you will still need to submit tax returns. So don't think like, oh, wait, they pay themselves, they work for Ramirez Landscaping and they have a corporation and they pay themselves W-2, and you see the W-2s and you see the pay stubs. You're like, wait, well, I'm going to calculate the income this way because they get paid W-2. It's different. So if you see, the minute you see, Ramirez Landscape and you see it's my name, Eli Ramirez, wait, do you own this company? Oh yeah, I do own it. Well, I'm going to have to look at your tax returns, at your business tax returns. We're going to have to get individual and business tax returns because we got to take into account if there's any losses on the business returns. We got to take it as liabilities on his debts. So what other training would you guys like to have next Friday? I mean, this was pretty, I think W-2 is pretty simple, right?
Right. It's more easier than the self-employed. I would like self-employed, the training with self-employed, like Schedule C, something like that.
Okay, perfect. Do you guys have an idea on how to review self-employment income, or you like not at all?
No, honestly, not at all.
Okay. So what
I
we'll
do the
do,
Schedule C, but not when corporate, I mean, with the ones that other
there is-
schedules and stuff. No, but Schedule C, yes.
okay. So next Wednesday, if you want, because then I'll be gone for 2 weeks because I'm going on vacation. So if you guys want to do maybe Tuesday, if you guys have time, we can do a training on Tuesday in the afternoon because I do my prospecting in the mornings from 9 to 12. So I can do an afternoon training. I'll put samples of corporation returns and also self-employed Schedule C, which are pretty, Schedule C is pretty basic.
Yes.
You guys
Okay.
want to go over that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'll do that. I'll, again, I'll put something together like this so that way it's easier. I like this because I think it's when you see it and not just hear someone, it's a little bit easier. And then you can go back. I'll create something like this, but showing, we'll do Schedule C, and then we'll also do corporate returns. And then how to separate them, because I was afraid of calculating corporation returns when they had multiple companies, but it's not, you just look at one at a time, and you just do one income calculation at a time. So before I would get really scared, but as long as you separate your K1s, you separate your 1120s, then it's fairly easy. We'll go over that training. So I'll set something up for maybe Tuesday. Are you guys available Tuesday afternoon?
Yes, I am available.
Okay, perfect. So I'll do that. And then again, if you guys, can't make it, it's good just so that way you guys, if you have any questions, but I'll record it so that way we can go back and look at it again if you guys need to.
Melly, I have a question. For running credit, do you always go by the address that it's on their ID? And then you see the pay stubs, they using another address, and then the W-2 another address. And
I
that
always
they're
go-
actually not living in the address that they have in their ID.
Yeah, no, I ask, where do you currently live? Where are you currently staying, we could say. And I go based on that address. And then once you run the credit, the other addresses are gonna pop up. So, just when you do your letter of explanation on the addresses, that's when you'll confirm, you know, parents' home, sister's home, ex-wife's home, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I always ask, where do you currently live right now? That's the address that
Yeah.
I go off.
Okay.
And same thing, when you're reviewing the photo ID and you see a different address, that's when you'll do a letter of explanation, where the client will say, my address on the driver's license is different. I use my mom's address for all my mailing, or, you know, whatever the reason may be, or it was my previous address. I haven't changed it, because the underwriter will question that.
Yes. Okay.
Melly, can I ask about letters of explanation? The previous broker I was with, especially for our Spanish speakers, like we would just write it for them, then read it to them, and then have them sign it. Is that usually the practice with you guys?
Well, you know, I mean, technically they're supposed to write it, but I do understand when they don't know how to write it in English. Yes, we can, you know, ask them, and then we can write it for them.
Yeah.
And then just send it to them so they can sign it,
Right.
you know.
Okay.
Can they sign it with loan docs?
Yeah, sometimes depending on what type of letter it is, they'll put it with loan docs. If it's a letter regarding income, or, you know, credit, or something that they do need to be signed like on spot, then they need to sign it, wet sign it. Like, let's say a profit and loss, you know, the profit and loss needs to be signed and dated before it could be
Before getting to loan docs.
loan
Yeah.
docs. Yeah, so it just
Mhm.
depends on what kind of letter it is.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys, so I think we're good. So again, I'm gonna send a quick email, and I'll attach this PDF file, and I'll send the link over for YouTube, okay?
Okay, thank you so much, Melly.
Alright,
Thank
you're very
you.
welcome. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Happy
You too.
Friday.
You too. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.